My name is Gavin Evans, and this is my review for The Lost City. Between this movie and Uncharted coming out last month, adventure movies are back, baby, and they're worse than ever. It does bum me out to say that because I was really looking forward to this movie. I made a list of my top 10 most anticipated movies of 2022 a few months ago, and this movie just barely missed that list. That's how excited I was for this movie. I didn't watch a single trailer. All I knew is that it was a rom-com with Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum with Daniel Radcliffe as the villain and an old-fashioned adventure movie. And this movie is anything but that. It is the safest, most formulaic movie you could have possibly gotten from this premise. Now, Sandra Bullock is good in this movie. She's one of the highlights. She's almost 60 and she still looks great, but she does do a good job for what she's given to work with. Channing Tatum, I like him as an actor. I think he's great in Magic Mike, 21 and 22 Jump Street, and Hail Caesar. But man, I did not like him at all in this movie. I thought that he was way too over the top, and they just dumbed him down to an unbearable degree to the point where he didn't feel realistic at all. And I don't think these two worked well together. Like in a movie like this, you want the straight guy who takes this very seriously and the goofy sidekick character. That's what you want in a movie like this. And I found that both of these personalities were really over the top and goofy, and it just didn't work for me. And the romantic chemistry, I didn't buy it for a single second. The romance in this movie is very cliche, which I don't mind, but they have to have chemistry, and these two did not. You also got Daniel Radcliffe as a villain, and Daniel Radcliffe is an actor who's impressed me since he left Harry Potter because he's taking these weird, ambitious roles, and I really appreciate that. And I don't think he's bad in this movie. I don't think he's given the best material to work with, but you can tell that he's trying the hardest with what he is. I think if they wrote this character to be more over the top, he could have really shined in this role. You also got Divine Joy Randolph, who I just found to be bloody annoying. She has no purpose in this movie. Anytime it cuts to her, I'm just like, why are you doing this? She's just distracting away from the main plot. You also got Brad Pitt, who seems to be everyone's favorite performance in this movie, and he's fine. He's decent in the movie, but he didn't really impress me all that much. And then you've also got Oscar Nunez, who is Oscar from The Office, and I don't know if him and Sandra Bullock are friends or something, because I think the only other movie I've seen him in is A Proposal, and now he's in this movie with Sandra Bullock. So I don't know if those two are just good friends or whatever, but yeah, I like him in The Office, but in both of the movie performances I've seen from him, I found him to be unbearably annoying. And the actual adventure element of this movie is completely non-existent. You know, it's called The Lost City. You think they're looking for a lost city, but not really. They're kind of looking for this one thing, but not really either. So it just ends up being two characters walking through the jungle the entire movie. Like if the plot of this movie was two characters are driving to this location, but the vehicle breaks down in the middle of the jungle and they have to walk the rest of the way, then this movie wouldn't feel all that different. And the direction they take the adventure treasure part of it in the very end, I found to be completely unsatisfying. And I actually did look this one thing up after the movie ended, and this movie wasn't shot in a studio. It was shot on location. But you couldn't possibly tell from watching this movie because not once does it ever feel real. It feels like two actors walking in front of a green screen for the entire movie. So the fact that they actually shot it on location and made it look and feel that way is just a completely huge negative. Like, this movie is ugly to look at. Just everything about the visuals did not work for me in any way. Not every movie has to look like the tragedy of Macbeth or the French Dispatch or West Side Story. Not every movie has to look like that, but there should be some sort of effort put into it, and there's just none of that apparent here. And the CGI at the very end of this movie was atrocious. Like some of the worst CGI I've ever seen in my life. Like, if you watch the 2008 movie Journey to the Center of the Earth, it hasn't aged remotely well, and it looks like something that would be in that movie. It looks that bad. And the way the last act kind of pans out, like, it's really weird. Like, they make it seem like there's this huge threat to these characters, And then the threat just disappears without any update later on. It's just like, what happened to that whole thing that was happening? Oh, okay, I guess that's done. Really? The movie has lots of stupid things like that. Like, they made these two characters into the dumbest people imaginable. Like, there's this joke where Sandra Bullock is zip tied to a chair, and they just, instead of cutting the zip ties, they just pick up the entire chair because they don't have time. And I just can't laugh at a joke like that because it is just so silly, so over the top, and not grounded in reality at all that it completely takes me out of the moment, it takes me out of the movie, and the movie is filled with those moments. Like, there's even a few moments where the characters have every opportunity to take out the bad guy, and for some reason they just don't. There's one scene where the characters just don't even try to get out of a dangerous situation and put themselves into an even bigger life-threatening situation. And just the stupidity of these characters drove me nuts. And there's a bunch of small things that really take me off in this movie. Like, there's one moment where they're in a pool of water and they're trying to escape through this tunnel. And they're going down this tunnel, and then when they re-emerge, they're just in the middle of the ocean. Geographically, it doesn't make any sense. And then there's one scene where the two main characters have realized that the bad guys are right behind them, that they're going to catch up any second, so they have to get moving. And like, the bad guys are right there. Like, I thought that they were going to see them in that moment, but somehow they don't. And then the bad guys just vanish. It's just like, what happened to those two characters? Did they just give up? Like, what happened? It's the laziest kind of filmmaking. It is. Not an ounce of effort or care was put into the movie, directing-wise or script-wise. Just none. And you can just see it. Like, it pisses me off that studios are just pumping out movies as lazy as this every week. Like, Netflix has like 5 new movies coming out every single week, and none of those 5 movies do people ever talk about. They're disposable garbage. They don't leave any sort of impact. They just get released for the sake of it. And this movie is the theatrical equivalent of that. It's a comedy, and I laughed. Well, I didn't laugh. I chuckled maybe 3 times. The movie just wasn't funny, and it was trying so hard to be this hilarious movie. But every joke in this movie you've seen 100 times before, and it's so predictable. Like, there's one scene involving leeches. I'm just like, oh, yeah, this is going to happen. It's just not funny, and it's been done before. They do attempt to give Sandra Bullock some sort of character arc in this movie, and it didn't work for me in any sort of way. I thought it was awfully written, and she's a character who's mourning the loss of her husband, and the movie tells you that time and time and time again. It's really in your face with it. I get what the movie's about, but not once do you actually feel it. Not once do you actually feel like this character is gripping with the loss of her husband. And it's just like, okay guys, for this latest studio comedy, we need some sort of heartfelt element to it. It can't just all be jokes. Aha! What if her husband is dead and she then falls in love with Channing Tatum or what? I don't know. This movie's just a mess. Oh, and the action. The action I haven't mentioned yet, but there's one big action scene with Brad Pitt, and my goodness, the editing in this scene was absolutely atrocious. Like, there's no reason to watch this movie. It is bad. It is really, really bad. Sandra Bullock does fine enough. I don't think she ever hits those dramatic beats that she tries to, but as being the romantic comedy lead in this movie, she's perfectly fine. Daniel Radcliffe is trying his best with what he's given, and there's potential behind this movie, but that's as much credit as I can give it. It is a really bad movie. It's not funny. It's poorly made. It is just another movie that was released. It's a shame that movies have honestly come to this. We're getting more movies now, more than ever. And movies have never been at a worse quality. just the amount of shit that's getting put out there these days, it's really disheartening as someone who's loved movies for all these years. I'm not going to waste time talking about this movie any longer. I'm going to go ahead and give The Lost City a 3 out of 10. Okay, have you seen The Lost City? If so, then it's not that lost after all, is it? But what did you think about it? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like, make sure you comment, make sure you subscribe. Stay tuned for some more videos soon, and Gavin out.